Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Julian Marivel, your professor of positive communication. In this video series, I share short stories designed to inspire you to communicate more positively at work and at home. This is story number 3. A couple years ago, I traveled to Costa Rica to deliver a training on positive communication and leadership. At the end of the session, I went out to eat to a nice restaurant in the town, and I ended up eating by myself. So because I was by myself, they basically put me at the bar. They didn't want to give me a table. So I'm sitting at the bar eating by myself. A few minutes later, another person joins me. And so, of course, I struck up a conversation with them. It turns out that that person was excellent Japanese businessman who was traveling around the world to work on some of his work. But as I got to know him a little bit, he began to share more and more about his experiences. And at some point, he had the courage to tell me that he was a bit in a leadership crisis. This is what he said to me. He says, Julian, I'm just realizing that for all of my career, I have been treating people like they were an object. I've been treating people like it's. And he gave me some examples. He said, for example, when I was going to work in the morning, if I would see some of my colleagues interact in the hallway or connect, I would not even stop. I would go straight to my desk. Or if I was sitting in my office and somebody was delivering documents to me, instead of making eye contact with them, I would just kind of keep typing away. I would almost completely ignore them. Or if I was giving feedback to somebody, I wouldn't even take the time to say something nice. I would just say, you need to fix this and it needs to go this way. And he realized, and I'm not sure how, but he realized that fundamentally he needed to make a paradigm shift in his leadership. He went through a crisis and he realized, I have to learn how to connect with people more meaningfully. This is not a good way of being a leader. This is not an appropriate way of being a leader. And he began to change. What did he do? He began to change the small ways in which he begins to connect with people. So in the morning when he was going to work, instead of ignoring his colleagues or focusing too much on tasks, he would take the time to stop by and engage in small talk and get to know people. He also learned to go into people's offices and check in with them to see how they were doing and how their families were doing. If he was working in his office and somebody would come in, he began to just drop everything and his work and his task and just focus on the person and say, I'm going to give this person my full attention. Or if he was giving people feedback, he would say, people work so hard on some of these projects and I was not even acknowledging any of this. And so he began to emphasize the strength that he saw in people. And he just shared with me that not only did that paradigm shift change the way he led, it changed the way he experienced the workplace, and it changed the culture that he was, of course, creating. So here's what we can learn from this moment. At any moment, as a leader, as a person, you can always make a choice. Am I going to treat this person as an it, or am I going to treat this person as a whole human being? Great communicators, great communication is all about moving from treating people like objects, from treating them like a transaction, to treating them like the most important being in the world. And if you can make that transition from it to you, you're going to succeed as a leader and as a communicator. I'm so glad to be part of your journey. I look forward to continuing this conversation. Thank you for being part of it. I look forward to connecting with you everywhere.